Matt Baylis on last night's TV, full-scale investigation. Admission of guilt, if not remorse, is an absolute must if a prisoner hopes to be released. Denying it while serving a life sentence might mean dying in jail. As we learned on Conviction, BBC Two, last night, the numbers have a strange legal logic of their own. Louise Shorter, driving force behind the Inside Justice organization, was asked to review the case of a man given life with a minimum of 16 years for the abduction and murder of his estranged wife. Glenn Razzell had been protesting his innocence since his conviction in 2003. If he'd done it, wouldn't he be cutting his losses by now and admitting it in the hope of parole? The short answer is, who knows? People are unpredictable, but the gray hinterlands of doubt were deep enough for Shorter and her team of lawyers, former judges, retired cops and off-duty forensic types to take this up. The trouble is, as we found out, that no one convicted of killing someone looks that innocent because, actually, no one ever looks innocent of everything. When Shorter, a journalist by training, first spoke to Glenn on the phone, she felt she'd met someone who was open and sincere. But the further she delved into his case, the more concerns she had. How was it that his estranged wife had gone through a glass door during a previous argument? What kind of man says that his wife had goaded him to do it, with the words she'd said? The answers vary. A violent man. An angry man. A man with problems. None of those men, necessarily, have to be men who kill their wives, of course. Programs like these are as fascinating as they are uncomfortable, in the way they turn people's fortunes into storylines, make us view justice in a different way. It's not for nothing that it's depicted as a set of scales, one sliver of evidence tipping it this way, a matchstick of doubt the other. Not reassuring, either, especially if you end up in the dock. And a poignant one-off, Trevor McDonald, returned to South Africa, ITV, saw the veteran newsman reviewing the nation he last glimpsed in a moment of triumph, as Nelson Mandela was released. McDonald had been the first person to interview the freed Mandela, and one of his first ports of call was the late leader's township home in Vilakazi Street. A lesser kind of commentator might have wasted much hot air on this, with its coach-sized Mandela family restaurant and stalls selling struggle-themed tat for tourists. Sir Trevor was more concerned to talk with people who'd been there on the day he'd been there, with a different set of emotions to his own. It was the theme of the trip, really, from still poor black people in the shanty slums to newly poor whites in the same slums, to the Afrikaners, withdrawing behind gates to preserve their cultural identity, or something else. What had changed? It depended where he looked. Somewhere on his long journey through the justice system, Mandela said that a nation should be judged by its prisons. The one McDonald visited, where Cape Town murderers were doing mindfulness and yoga workshops, pointed in the general direction of hope. 24 years after the end of apartheid, who could hope for more?